What's going on, folks? This is Coach Markus coming at you from the mothership A2D Radio. I'm going to have my conversation with Tone DeShields. We're going to talk about Jalen Hurts. We're going to talk about the win versus Miami. And we're going to talk about getting ready for this Washington Commanders game because they always seem to give a rough time. So,
What's up, my family? Listen, first-time listener, or you've been here the whole damn time. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, giddy up, let's go, no notes.
That's my baby. That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored! They did it!
Slap.
What the hell was that?
Oh, yeah!
What the f*** are you talking about?
what's going on, folks? Happy Thursday to you. Good evening, good evening, good evening. My name is Markus Thomas. Welcome to the Pro Fan Talk. And the NFL is the gift that keeps on giving. As usual, we are back at it again. Crazy week. You got Kevin Byard coming to town. You got San Francisco and Detroit losing. You got everybody popping off on social media. Got a chance to talk to my guy, Tone DeShields. I'm going to have that conversation up for you in just a minute. But it has been some craziness going on around here. But starting off, the Eagles thumped Miami. Everybody thought it was going to be a much more difficult game than it actually was. And again, you got to give props to Sean Desai, man. You have to do that. What Sean Desai has been doing with masking tape and bubblegum with all of these injuries has been off the charts. Brian Daly, I see you. What's good, bro? I see my dad was number 1 out the limo. Vince was number 2. Brian Daly, you were number 3 out the limo, bro. I appreciate you all. But it has been crazy, man. Sean Desai has been doing it up. We finally got a turnover, right? That's what, our 3rd pick of this year, only 3. So hopefully we'll have some more of that. Just a smart heads-up play by Big Play Slay. And it sounds weird when you hold a receiver to 88 yards. That's still a good game. But we held the cheetah to only 88 yards, and we got it done. He had that one play that was beautiful. Tua launched it, and Tyreek Hill just ran and got it. He's that good. He is that good. Jason Bennett, what's going on, my dude? I appreciate you, bro. So yeah, man, but we put it down, man. And I tell you what, man, you got to take a look at Jalen Carter. Everybody knows Jalen Carter is the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year, or Defensive Rookie of the Year, I should say. And if he stays healthy and he keeps playing the way he's playing, I don't see any reason why that can't happen. Also, on that same defensive line, y'all done shook up the giant. Y'all done woke up Hassan Reddick. Now, he did not record a sack, but those 2 tackles for losses against Miami, thing of beauty. Everybody talks about Miami's motion and what they do off of motion and behind the back handoffs and all this kind of stuff. And he stuffed them both times. We even had a Nolan Smith sighting. Nolan Smith came around the edge and looped around that tackle and got the sack on Tua. So everybody is elevating their game. What Sean Desai is doing right now, he's got the defense moving it, and everybody's kind of hitting that altitude and about to start cruising, because now this is a situation where nobody in that backfield, that secondary, is thinking anymore. Everybody knows what to do. You remember that first 2-3 games of the season this year, we're messing up coverages and passing off coverages and stuff like that, and it just wasn't looking right. But now we got it covered. Now we're doing it right. We're moving. Everybody's communicating. And you didn't see that earlier in the year. And that's one of the things I was talking about. It is very difficult to learn a whole new system without having any hiccups. It's bound to happen. That's what was happening on the offense, in my opinion. So now, if you go back and look at the games, yes, Jalen Hurts, he has a lot more turnovers than he had last year. Hey, Chiquita, what's going on? Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you. We've got a lot more things going on on the offense, but everybody was learning the new offense. So it wasn't as smooth as it needed to be. You know what I mean? So once we got over that hump, it was a lot better. It was a heck of a lot better. So, you know, those things take time. Those things take time. So let me see. I see my dad. I see Vince. I see Brian. I see Jason. And I see Chiquita. That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's my 5 out the limo right there. So let's do it like this. Where we go. All right, let's go. My first 5 out the limo is going to be brought to you by Royal Billiards. So let's check this out.
Royal Billiard and Recreation, proudly celebrating 40 years and our new, bigger showroom.
Twice the size and twice the fun.
More pool tables by Olhausen. More dartboard sets, including custom reclaimed backboards. More bar and kitchen stools that can change a room.
And more bars, including pre-built and custom.
Hot tubs, skee ball, shuffleboard, outdoor,
and fun.
Royal Billiard and Recreation, your ultimate game room store. Now located on Bethlehem Pike in Colmar.
Yes, sir. Man, do y'all remember back in the day, if you had an uncle or somebody that had a pool table, like upstairs in the entertainment room or downstairs in the basement, or my uncle had one up in the attic, that was like a big deal if you could, you know, play pool. I was never a good pool player. My grandson was pretty good, but I had no skills. But real quick, I want to get to the conversation I had with Tone DeShields. He had some scheduling issues, so we had to move the conversation forward. So what I did was I pre-recorded. We were recording all the way up to the start of this show. We were going to like 6:55. He's in Texas, so he got his times mixed up, but we made it work. We pulled an audible and made it work. So I definitely wanted to play that conversation. Great conversation. So I want to get into that now, and then I'll be back at the tail end of it. Let's see. All right, how can we do this? Hold on. There we go. What's going on, folks? This is Coach Markus with Pro Fan Talk, and I have my guests coming all the way from you in Dallas.
So no, I'm not. I'm actually not in Dallas. I'm about an hour from Austin. Okay. Yeah. But recently moved to Texas from Philly, man. It's a culture shock a little bit.
I got a brother-in-law that's in the DFW area, so
okay.
Just to let you guys know, I'm still in the chat. Still in the chat. Get you on the show, man. We've been going back and forth on social and all of that kind of stuff for the
definitely, man. You show a lot of love, man. I appreciate you, man. You show a lot of love, and you know, it was only a matter of time before you and I connected. So and you know, saying it right now, you know, we're definitely gonna do it again. This would have been live, you guys, but I'll wear that. It's my fault, you guys. I'll jump in front of the bus right now, throw me under it, do whatever you got to do. But I appreciate you, Markus, for definitely being accommodating and you know, taking the time out to chat with me, man. I appreciate you.
Absolutely, man. It's all love. We had to pull an audible. It's all good. Sometimes you got to change the play. But you know what? On that note, man, on the talking about like us knowing each other from like this, I follow you, the stuff you do with Jacob Media, with me, the few times I was on with D Gun and Barrett and Robbie,
right,
and different things like that, man. And it's interesting, the situation that happened this week with all of the podcasts and stuff like that. And I'm looking at all of the stuff that Micah Parsons is doing, and I've been cracking up at this. Because listen, I'm old school, man. I played in the 90s. I played with Seth, and I played with Byron Evans and Willie T and EA and that whole group of no nonsense dudes. And it's funny, like I did a video today, and in it I say, like, what would it be for me back in the 90s to jump on WIP and say, you know what? I think the Dallas Cowboys are the best team in the NFC right now. Man, I'd have walked back in that locker room and they would have smacked the hell out of me, man. I don't understand where these guys now, they are creating the noise. They are creating the distraction. Everybody wants to, you know, they want that click traffic so bad, man. And it's like, I never understood that. Well, I get it. I'm doing the same thing, but I'm at a different point in my life.
Yeah. You're far removed. It's different. Man. It's different. Yeah,
man. So it's a very interesting perspective,
dynamic, right?
Yeah, man. What do you think about that, man? It's and it just happened ever since damn Antonio Brown in Pittsburgh, when he did what he did in the locker room, it's been like school's out, man.
It's funny, man, because I'm definitely not one of those shut up and dribble kind of guys, right? I definitely want my athletes to have opinions, and I want them to be as honest as possible, and I kind of think of myself as kind of having like a blend between the new school and the old school mentality. Full transparency, I'm 28, born in 94. So
Anthony, what's up, dude? I see you in the chat.
Like the era of football that I grew up with, I grew up in the McNabb era, pretty much going forward. You know what I mean? So seeing, Micah being too honest. Now, look, I know how to take a compliment, right? I appreciate the compliment, Micah, but here's the thing. I feel like it's a fine line between, when these active athletes, have, their own podcast and they're literally in the midst of a season. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's one thing if, you record your podcast in the off season and then, when the season starts, you're locked in. But, you have guys now that have podcasts and they're literally in season. For example, Mookie Betts has a podcast on Bleacher Report, just like Micah, and he was talking mid-season. I think, Von Miller, he had he got a podcast at Bleacher Report, and I think he was talking, in season as well. But Micah kind of just jumped out the window, man, on his own team, his own organization. I think what's so fascinating about it more than anything is forget him putting us number one, right? He didn't even put his own team top 5. I think that stood out to me the most. And if I'm a teammate of his, knowing you got this podcast, knowing you're our leader, you know what I mean? Our young OG, pretty much 2-time first team All Pro. You know what I mean? If I look at you in that regard, I'm going to hold your opinion in high regard as well. So when you say something like that and you got to come into the locker room, I'm like, yo, little Micah, what's going on? What you talking about? What you mean they ain't got no weaknesses? You know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with saying, they playing the best football right now. You got to respect them. But he kind of laid it on a little too thick and was talking about they ain't got no weaknesses and, start naming guys. But in all of that, right, I kind of took it a step further and I said, okay, okay, sure, we took it as entertainment and we kind of looked at it as, what are you talking about? But maybe he's sending a message to his organization saying, hey, look, I don't even think we top 5. We ain't got what they got. You know what I'm saying? So either he's sending a message to his organization or he's trying to hedge his bet in case things don't go the way they want, or he's trying to lay the foundation that if they beat us, he could say, look, we beat them when they got this, they got that, they got everything across the board. So it's a few different ways you can go about it, but overall, I'm not a fan. Okay, I put you this way: if Jalen Hurts or Hassan Reddick or Brandon Graham had a podcast and they came out talking about the Cowboys, they got this, they got that, I'm gonna have a problem with that, and I'm a Dallas fan. I'll have a real problem with that. So I can only imagine, what the Dallas fans is going through, because I see it on Twitter right now. All those guys in a tizzy right now. You know what I'm saying? They're on the left and right.
Like my twin sister says, you're doing too much. He gonna have to understand how to do coach speak, man. He's going way too far with it, and he's really not saying anything that's crazy, inflammatory, anything like that. But when you have that back that is the Dallas Cowboys, it's going to get blown out of proportion. Absolutely. And I said this last year, and I'm still looking for it. I ain't found the video, but I know I said it, and I'm gonna find it. I was like, if Micah Parsons, now this was before the Von Miller podcast, because in my mind,
right.
After the Von Miller podcast was when he just started going too much, doing too much. Mm-hmm. But I was of the opinion that if he just stayed quiet and didn't drink the Dallas Cowboy Kool-Aid, and he just stayed that quiet type player that was dominating and let his play do the talking, I was like, they're going to be dangerous because he's going to be the leader of that defense and that locker room. No sooner than I said that, 3 weeks later, he's on the podcast and he ain't shut up since.
But that's the problem in Dallas, right? Like when you say that's historically been their problem, the fact that they have
the 90s.
They have this idea of where they think they are.
Yeah.
And then the reality doesn't necessarily coincide with that. And then you think about how the owner moves, right? At the end of the day, it's a trickle-down effect, if you ask me, right? the owner got this radio show that he appears on maybe I think once or twice a week, where he's talking about coaching and play calls and so on and so forth, and he's making a spectacle of himself and his organization, and it really undermines the head coach. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Bro,
he got his own AI. Did you see that? Like that, but when you have that back, that is the Dallas Cowboys.
Hey, shout out to my twin sister Melanie. You're doing too much.
And I said this last year, and I'm still looking for it. I ain't found the video, but I know I said it, and I'm gonna find it. I was like, if Micah Parsons. Now this was before the Von Miller podcast, because in my mind,
right
after the Von Miller podcast was when he just started going too much, doing too much. But I was of the opinion that if he just stayed quiet and didn't drink the Dallas Cowboy Kool-Aid, and he just stayed that quiet type player that was dominating and let his play do the talking, I was like, they're going to be dangerous, because he's going to be the leader of that defense in that locker room. No sooner than I said that, 3 weeks later, he's on the podcast and he ain't shut up since.
But that's the problem in Dallas, right? Like when you say that's historically been their problem, the fact that they have
the 90s.
They have this idea of where they think they are.
Yeah.
And then the reality doesn't necessarily coincide with that. And then you think about how the owner moves, right? At the end of the day, it's a trickle-down effect, if you ask me, right? The owner got this radio show that he appears on maybe I think once or twice a week, where he's talking about coaching and play calls and so on and so forth. And he's making a spectacle of himself and his organization, and it really undermines the head coach. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Bro,
he got his own AI. Did you see that?
I heard about that. Is that real?
Yes. It's more like a
Jerry trying to live
forever. I want to call it a ride, but the people go into this room and he's got it's not a hologram, but it looks like a video display.
Yeah.
And you can ask the AI Jerry questions, and of course it'll spit out like Chat GPT type answers and stuff like that. But just to have the hubris to do something like that, like, come on, man, like tone it down. But it's not going to happen. That's just the Dallas Cowboys. But let's get off of them and let's talk about our boys.
For sure.
The Birds and Greens, man. What are your thoughts right now on Sean Desai?
Sean Desai is calling tremendous football right now. I feel like he's doing the best he can with what he's been given, and I feel like he's truly maximized this roster, especially when he's dealt with a lot of injuries on the back end. You know what I mean? With Reed Blankenship, being in and out of the lineup. I think he missed 2 games so far. He should be back this week. But with the same injury to ribs. So Lord knows if that's going to continue to nag him throughout the season. Most likely it will, because again, it's the ribs. You played the game, for a long time. I'm sure when you get a shot to them ribs, it lingers for a while.
Everything hurts.
Exactly. And then you was missing James Bradbury, I think, in week 2 against the Vikings, and then you lose Avonte Maddox for the rest of the season. You lose Zach McPherson for the rest of the season. You lost Nakobe Dean for about 3 or 4 games. Granted, the linebackers came in and played tremendous football without him there. But my point is, Sean Desai has just been so creative in what he's been doing with this roster. And I feel like he's been maximizing it to the best of his ability. And the biggest thing that I noticed from Sean Desai is a guy who's willing to take risk, a guy who truly is willing to mold what his team does to the opponent. Like, for example, the way the Eagles played defense against the Miami Dolphins was entirely different than the way they played defense against the Buccaneers or even the Rams, right? And granted, different opponents call for different circumstances, but I think you can agree with this. Last year, Jonathan Gannon had his defense, and it was what it was, and he wasn't changing it or moving off of it, and he called plays how he called plays. Now I'm seeing this. I'm seeing a guy who's truly able to maximize what he has. He's getting the most out of those guys, and they're responding. And you can tell they play in a way that's in line with how he thinks.
Right, Anthony,
they trust what he's
put in the
teaching.
chat. How come you don't like Sean Desai?
He's a new coordinator coming in.
Explain yourself in the chat.
I mean, we expected growing pains, right? The pass defense wasn't the greatest earlier on. They were ranked, I believe, 27th. For the better part of the season. Now through 7 games, I think that the passing defense is ranked 18th in terms of yardage given up, and And if you want to just go by the past 3 games, which is when the defense really came on, the defense has only given up about 180, 185 yards passing over the past 3 weeks. So you're literally seeing this defense evolving. And we came into the season understanding that this was going to be a filling our process with this defense, and they turned the corner. If you ask me, they turned the corner in the second half of that Rams game. That was when the defense truly, took that big step forward. And we said to ourselves, at least I did, I said to myself, okay, he managed to shut down, in my opinion, a top 10 talent at quarterback.
Yep.
Maybe not top 10 as far as however, whatever metric you want to use, but as far as from a talent perspective, a guy that can really sling the rock and that really likes to throw the ball, he managed to shut him down in the second half. You shut down Cooper Kupp in the second half. You shut down this young hot receiver and Puka Nacua in the second half. You saw what I'm saying? So it's just you're seeing the defense responding, and you're seeing adjustments. So overall, I think Sean Desai is doing an amazing job with what he's been given. And then you add in Kevin Byard into the situation, man, with the way this defense is trending and that pass rush, and you got stars on all 3 levels for the most part. Oh yeah, this defense is going to get hot at the perfect time, and they're only going to get better.
I agree with you 100%, man. I think Sean Desai for what he has done with a defense that was, with a secondary that was put together with masking tape and bubble gum. To lose all of the guys that we've lost and the turnover. And that's the thing the first 2 weeks we were having trouble passing off coverage in the secondary. We were getting killed on motion routes. If the defense would have played like they had in the first 3 weeks against Miami, the motion would have just destroyed us. But you hit the nail on the head, man, when you mentioned adjustments. That Rams game was the first game where I was like, okay, I see what he did. He made some true adjustments, and they are working. Not to mention, go back a couple of weeks before that, and out of the blue, Nicholas Moreau and Zach Cunningham are playing out of their minds. Nobody expected that. So we've been getting the bonus play from guys we didn't expect, and it makes up for the guys that we lost. Reed Blankenship, I said this last year, there was no earthly reason why he was as good as he was, but he was. He's that cerebral guy that maybe he didn't have all of the physical talents, but he's a smart player.
Well, keep in mind, he was the 5-year starter at Middle Tennessee, so he had a lot of reps, right? And then I think the reason I gave him so much respect, and sorry to cut you off, Marcus, but I think the reason I gave Reed Blankenship so much grace, or I guess I was higher on him at that time, was because, I kind of did some research in terms of the college he went to, who went there. And once I found out Kevin Byard went there, I'm like, okay, Kevin Byard was a second, 3rd round pick, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. A guy that was a full-time starter all 4 years he was there. And they had a relationship, and they worked out in the offseason, so on and so forth. So I don't know, maybe that's wishful thinking, but I just had this notion in my mind, okay, he's from that branch of caliber of safety in terms of preparation. Because again, you mentioned it, right? There's nothing that wows you physically about Kevin Byard or Reed Blankenship. But what separates them is their ability to understand the position and understand what's required from the position, they know where they're supposed to be at all times. Again, you played this game, right? I'm pretty sure you play with guys, whereas though maybe they weren't the most talented, but they maximized what they had, or maybe I'll put it this way, maybe they weren't the most athletically gifted, but they just knew where to be at the right time and how to manipulate their body so they can get the most out of it.
Yeah, I'll take a smart player every day of the week. Because when you're out there on the field and you're going at game speed, the minute you have to think about what you have to do, you're already a step behind. And we saw that when you looked at Josiah Scott last year. Yeah. Eli Ricks, the first game, they plugged him in. He had a great preseason, but when you get game speed, regular season, that's a different beast. He acclimated well, though. But even, I called it the Josiah Scott experience last year, but he was getting toasted early. Towards the end of the year, he got a lot better. And that's just, to your point, having playing time, watching film, and just getting those snaps that you need to get comfortable. Once you get comfortable and you don't have to think about what you're supposed to do, that's where you want to be as a player. You never want to have to think because you're already a step behind. And that's where we are right now on that defense. Now that transitions to my last question because we're going to run out of time and this was going to take a minute. Are you feeling better about Brian Johnson?
I'm optimistic. I'm more optimistic about him. The red zone looked better versus Miami. Mm-hmm. They went 4 for 6, so that's a step in the right direction.
Right.
And I'll admit, I try to give Brian Johnson as much grace as possible because look, the reality is, man, that's a brother in a high position, and not too many brothers get opportunities like that. And I have moments where I'm hard on him, but I think I'm hard on him because I'm such a diehard Eagles fan. I'm biased, right? So, but at the same time, I like to check my ego and say, you know what? This is a brother in a high position. I genuinely want him to do well. I want Brian Johnson to do well. I want him to succeed. I want things to go in his favor. But then once you separate all the emotion out of it and you just look on what's going on in the field, there are just moments where I'm just questioning his decision making. I'm questioning his ability to understand situations. I'm questioning his ability to just respond or to use a boxing analogy, throw a counterpunch. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's just for example, in the red zone against Miami on the first drive, I'm not understanding why you ran 3 running plays in a row in the red zone when teams are literally okay. I'll put it this way, right? The Philadelphia Eagles last year, they were one of the best teams in the red zone. I think they were completing red zones in terms of touchdowns at like a 65% clip. They were tremendous, right? And they led the league in terms of rushing touchdowns or rushing plays in the red zone last year. So when teams know that about you, and then they have a full season to prepare for you, on top of that, they saw you on the biggest stage in the Super Bowl. The world is watching. They're studying you. You know what I'm saying? They're not just entertaining themselves. They're studying you. At least these coaches are and these players are. Mm-hmm. So they're studying you, and they saw how your offense works at the highest level. Jalen Hurts was operating that offense at a high level in that Super Bowl. So knowing all that, I feel like this offense, or at least the coordinators or the coaches, they didn't develop enough counterpunches or a counterpunch at all to what teams will potentially throw at them. One of the things that stood out to me the most is when you hear, especially earlier in the season, you hear players talking about, oh yeah, they threw something at us that we didn't really expect, or they threw something at us that we didn't see coming. I think that's a problem. The fact that your coaches didn't have the foresight to prepare you for what they may throw at you, or the foresight to prepare you in case they shut down what you guys do very, very well. And I think that's my issue. Even still, with the offense, and particularly in the red zone. Let me throw something else at you real quick, man. Through the first 6 weeks, not 7 weeks, but through the first 6 weeks prior to the Miami game, did you know the Eagles were scoring the exact same amount of points as they were last year, the first 6 games?
Yeah.
So
just look different.
So it just looked different, right? But they clearly show an ability to move the ball, even though it's a little herky-jerky. They still can move the ball without an issue. That's just talent and force. Mm-hmm. But when you know that they've scored the same amount of points through the first 6 weeks in 2022 and 2023, and then you think about the other notion that red zone efficiency was in the 60%. It was in the 60 percentile in 2022, and now we're at the 40 percentile. Can you imagine if they actually got the red zone fixed?
Right. Exactly.
You dig what I'm saying? So it's so it's like, damn, like are we that good? But we're just not living up to that potential. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, we're doing the same thing we did last year with Gannon. All of the criticisms, and they were valid about Gannon. At the end of the day, we were nitpicking.
Yeah, you're right. Ultimately, we are nitpicking because we
were nitpicking, and this is no different. But the criticisms are valid. I wish they would run the ball differently. I want to see DeAndre Swift be outside.
You think you're running him inside the tackles a little too much?
A little too much. And you can do that because he's good at it and he's fast enough where he can bounce outside and make it happen. Right. However, I see some of the best success we've had when they run about a pistol, because as a running back, whenever that quarterback sticks that ball out to the side, it forces the linebackers to flow. When the linebackers have to flow, that's an easier block for your offensive lineman.
They were in pistol a lot against Miami, right? They were in pistol a lot.
And it sets it up. But also, I just want to see Jalen just reverse out and just pitch the ball, and then let DeAndre Swift race somebody to the corner or to the first down marker, or to the end zone. He's fast enough to do that.
Agreed.
And it keeps everybody honest. And then
Absolutely.
you can run some things off of that. That opens up everything else, man. So that's a whole nother rabbit hole we got to get into, man. But for the most part, we're nitpicking. We're 7-1. I'm still mad that we lost to the Jets, but
but let me ask you real quick before we get out of here. Real quick before we get out of here, right? And again, we definitely got to do this again, man, because I'm having too much fun already, and I felt like we left so much food on the table. But and again, that's on me, man. But I gotta ask you this, right? We are nitpicking and all that kind of stuff, and that Jets loss was definitely a gut punch. But do you believe in necessary losses?
No, because and I always try to preface this.
Okay,
and this is strictly from a player's mentality,
and that's what I was thinking. I think
you can only look one game ahead. You can only look one game ahead.
Okay.
You only look at who's in front of you.
That's true.
So when you have I don't know what a necessary loss means.
Okay,
I know that on this particular day, the normal things that we do to be successful, we didn't do. We didn't execute. That's why we gave them an opportunity. As bad as we played, we still held them to 20 points or whatever.
And then 13 of those points was, or 12 of those points, I believe, was on. We gave them a touchdown because we were trying to. Yeah,
we gave them 6 points.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as bad as people think.
Right.
But clearly the Eagles weren't playing up to their best. The question I want to know is, why was it like that? Why did they come out flat that game? Because I'm looking at it going into Washington. There is no reason we shouldn't kick Washington all up and down the field. But history shows us Washington always gives us a good game. Always. You see what they struggled with last week against the Giants. Neither one of those teams can match up with us. But every time we play them, it's a nail biter of a game. And it's like, why is it like that? So hopefully this game this weekend will be a little bit different. And we got a little bit more confidence. And the OC and the DC know what they need to do, and they'll execute it. So we'll see what's going to happen, man.
Yeah,
I think we had a time this time.
Oh yeah, we sure are. Man. Damn, you know what? Like I said, man, we definitely got to do this again next time live. Again, I want to apologize to you. I want to apologize to your people, man. I screwed up my time zone moving from Philly to Texas. It's an hour time difference, and then I try to anticipate, and then all that kind of stuff. And look, the bottom line is, I apologize for making this more complicated than it had to be. And again, we're definitely gonna do this again, Marcus. Like truly, like I like again through these 20 to 25 minutes, I had a great time. We touched on so much stuff, but we left so much food,
so much on the table, bro.
Maybe we can link up, maybe sometime next week or something. Do it that way, because again, I really enjoy myself, and I always love talking to people, or at least having the opportunity, being blessed to have the opportunity to talk to people who actually played the game, understands the game on the level that you do, because ultimately, I'm a layman that just loves sports. And not, and not listen to the smart people. You know what I mean? So
there you go.
Listen, man, I appreciate you, man, for giving me the opportunity to chop it up with you and actually to connect with your people, man. And we definitely got to do it again, my brother.
Not a problem. And that's a definite, man. We will do it again, man. So I'm going to get up out of here and run this ad real quick, and I'll be right back with you.
In our family, food is our daily bond. My nonna, affectionately called Mama by many, found solace and joy in the kitchen, sharing her love through delicious creations. She turned her culinary passion into a flourishing business alongside her husband and sons in 1983. Celebrating 40 years is a testament to our exceptional team, friends, family, and beloved customers. With gratitude, we look forward to the future, expanding our brand to share the highest quality Italian food and wine nationwide. Our heartfelt thanks to everyone who has played a part in our story. Grazie mille.
Yeah, man. I was hoping to get Tone on live, but things kind of got messed up. But it's okay. We pulled an audible. We pulled it off. We had a good conversation. We had a great conversation, man. Great conversation with Tone. He's definitely going to come back again, and we're going to chop it up. We did leave a lot of food on the table, and I still see people chiming in. I saw Chuck's drop in. I see Jason Bennett. Jason, I'm going to get into that in a minute about your comment about using Julio in the red zone. I think they can definitely do that. I think they will do that. Big shout out to Pete. I see you, brother Vince. Anthony. Chat is live, man. Chiquita, I appreciate all you guys taking over the chat. That's what I like to see, man. But Jason, to your comment, man, I definitely want to see Julio in the mix in the red zone. More, I want to see him more like if we are in goal line, because we can do some things and we can take advantage of his size, blocking or receiving. I think receiving would be good. He can run some scrubs and run some not screens, but rub offs, and he could be the guy that can disrupt a linebacker or a defensive back's flow because he's so big. So and at the end of the day, Julio Jones can still catch the ball, man. Don't get it twisted. He can still catch the ball. Now, I don't need him to take the top off the defense. That's Devontae's job. So we don't have to have him do that, but he can go 10 to 20 yards and he can give us a 10-yard in, out, slant, post, whatever it is. We can do that, man. So I think those are coming, and I wouldn't be surprised, Jason, if that's something that's in the back pocket for later. Just because, sometimes the closer you get to the playoffs, they start opening up the playbook. And then when you get in the playoffs, that's when it's full tilt. You bring everything you got to the table. You want to be in a situation where you can show a team things that they have never seen before. That gives you an advantage. So let's just keep them hamstrings good and ease him in. And once he gets a good feel for the offense, I'm positive that he might be in for a couple of plays in the red zone and on goal line. So I'm with you 100% right there, man. Vince, the stupid quarterback draws in the red zone. Yeah, it doesn't work that way. And I always remember, Vince, last year, that game in Indianapolis when Jalen Hurts went like 85 yards in 2 minutes or whatever it was to win the game. And if you remember, I think we were on the 7, and he dropped back and just went right up the middle untouched and scored. So that was a QB draw. He saw it right away, but he's not running very well. We all know the play. We think we know the play, because let me be honest with you. When I saw him come out with that knee brace, I thought it was back from what happened to him in LA when we played the Rams, when he had that crazy, he broke the tackle and he bent his ankle and his knee buckle. It still may have had something to do with that, but no, it didn't, because the brace is on the other knee. The brace is on his left knee, not his right. And that happened on his right leg. So that couldn't have been it. So it had to be when he scrambled on the outside and they kind of drug him down and he kind of got up limping and gimping. And I didn't even think it looked that bad until I saw the tape of him running off the field after the game. After the game, it looked like he was hurting. He was grimacing a little bit. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. The good thing about Jalen Hurts is he doesn't let that stuff bother him. The bad thing about Jalen Hurts is he doesn't let that stuff bother him, meaning that when you can ignore pain like that and do what you got to do, in some cases, there is a possibility that you can make things worse. So I don't know. One above all says Julio wasn't used in the red zone in Atlanta. Why does anyone think he's now the red zone miracle now? I don't think he's a red zone miracle. Far from it. But what I do think is he's like 6'3", 6'4", 200-something pounds going up against a maybe 5'10", or at best a 6 foot or 6'1" defensive back. So in 90% of the cases, he's going to have that height advantage. And the one thing that I've said, and you guys have heard me say this, even going back to J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, when you got somebody that size, the only thing I want you to do is go up like you dunking with two hands. I'm throwing you the ball high every time. Nobody should be able to out-jump him. I don't care how old he is. He should still be able to, if you take Julio Jones on the basketball court today, he can probably still dunk. That's all I need you to do. All I need you to do is out-jump that little DB that's covering you right now. corner of the end zone, front corner, back shoulder, however you want to throw the ball. And anybody with that size, you've got those plays at your disposal. You just got to use them. And I think Jalen Hurts can do that. Jalen Hurts' ball placement right now is top notch. It's got to be tops in the league. He's still playing throwing the deep balls right on the money. So why not? Why not? When you have a size advantage like that, use it. Again, I don't need him to, take the top off the defense. His hamstrings can't take it. But those 10 yards in that end zone, he can dominate that. Or, worst case scenario, use him as a decoy. I can live with that. I can live with using him as a decoy and getting the ball to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. I'm good with that. But we can find a way to use him. You just do not just kick that size to the curb. You got to find a way to use it. So I remember a couple years ago, we had the guy, because I remember watching him when he was in Cincinnati, Mohamed Sanu. That big Mohamed Sanu was like 6'7", 6'6", 6'7", or whatever. A wide receiver. Greg, what's going on, my guy? But we had Mohamed Sanu, and I was like, I think we ended up cutting him, and somebody else found him. But at the end of the day, it's like when you got somebody that big, you find a way to use them. Find a way to use them. Especially if you, at the end of the day, he did get cut, and he's bounced around. I'm not even sure if he's in the league anymore. But at 6'5", 6 or 7, and you can move. You got to think about it like this: to even be able to make it to this level, you got to have some type of speed. You got to have something with you. Also, he's on the Pats now, so he's got to have something. He's got to have something. You just got to figure out what it is. Here's a good example. Didn't nobody give two craps about Mac Hollins when he was here? Now I think he's in Seattle, right? Was he in Seattle or was he in Vegas? I can't remember. I think he's in Seattle. But out of the blue, Mac Hollins starts balling. Like, where did this come from? He reported to camp. He was yoked. Clearly, he's been in the weight room, let his hair grow out so he looked crazy, but all of a sudden, when he was here, nobody even looked at him. Now, some click, but you still got to be able to use what you got. So that's just me. Good coaches will find a way to do what they need to do with the personnel that they have, period. You got to know your personnel. And I think that was a detriment early in the season to Brian Johnson and to Sean Desai. So, but now time gives you a chance to get those relationships together. Now Sean Desai knows everybody. Now Brian Johnson knows everybody. And Brian Johnson's lease is a little bit shorter because he's been here longer. But I think everybody now understands the offense better. Because that's the one thing people forget. This was a new offense. This was not Shane Steichen 2.0. This was a whole new book. That's not something I even thought about because I'm thinking that, hey, he's going to have the same stuff. Jalen's going to have the answers to the test, and everything is just going to keep rolling. And that is not what happened. That is not what happened. And you can tell. They were not on the same page on a lot of plays. But the longer you go, the longer you play together, the more you start getting in sync and getting everything together. And that's what the Eagles are doing right now. And it's looking good. It's looking good. So I'm good with that. I'm good with that. We got to just keep it going. And we have got to handle our business this week. I can't say it enough. I know what happened last week, losing to the Giants. They got Saquon back, and they started giving them the ball, and the Giants are the same way. And it's funny because now they're looking like a pretty decent team. Now that Daniel Jones is not starting, which is funny. So, hey, Mom. I see my mom in the building. So, it's funny, man. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Daniel Jones' agents and his representation need to get a raise. All of them need to get raises because they fleeced the New York Jets out of $40 million a year. They all got Christmas coming good. Vince, 100%, man. That pass to A.J. Brown was on the money. I think Jalen Hurts is still tops in the league when it comes to deep throws. His stats were ridiculous last year for deep throws, and he's doing the same thing. However, some people might consider that a little bit of hero ball because that's the same type of ball he threw for the Jets when we had to get a first down, and he went for the whole thing to Devontae Smith, and it was like, what are you doing? Just throw the ball 10 yards. And although going kind of backtracking to the Brian Johnson discussion, the end of that Jets game, I was like, what the hell are they calling? So I feel better about Brian Johnson, but I am cautiously optimistic. Let me say it like that. I am cautiously optimistic. Anthony, are you talking about Hushmanzada? When he was with the Bengals, he was good, but he went somewhere. Yeah, but see, it all depends on. This is where you really have to look at tape at people. Because why was he TJ Hushmanzada? Why was he so good in Cincy? How did they use him in Cincy? And what were they not doing when he went somewhere else? That's just like what I said about Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is the master at finding what you do well, and you got one job. I figured out what you can do well, and all I want you to do is that thing. That's why Bill Belichick was so good. Now he's scrambling right now with, up with what he got with Mac Jones. It ain't looking too good, but I tell you what, he's got a reputation. He ain't going nowhere. I'll be surprised if they get rid of him in New England. So we'll see what's going to happen. But in any case, we're in a good situation. So let me see. Let me do this. I'm going to rock this last ad right here for hats.com. And then we're going to come back and finish this out. This is a quick one, 30 seconds. Hold up.
Hats.com is the premier destination for quality and fashion-forward hats and more, with designs for every style and trend. Locally based and run by Philly sports team fanatics, Hats.com can help you elevate your hat John. Utilize the easy-to-use guides at Hats.com to find your perfect size and style, and shipping and returns are free. Hats.com. Find yourself in a hat. Use code Philly for 15% off your order. Hats.com.
With Baltimore. Yes, he is, Anthony. I saw that. And you know what's funny in Baltimore? Everybody's got so much to say about Lamar Jackson. I thought Lamar was going about it the wrong way when he's trying to get his deal. It had nothing to do with the way he plays. It had everything to do with him staying healthy. If he can stay healthy this year, he's a force. He's a force. I don't understand why people think he cannot pass the ball. And I remember this vividly because I went to Eastern Kentucky and he played at Louisville. I was acutely aware of that kid down in Louisville doing what he was doing. And he was running away from everybody. And I'll never forget, I watched him one week and he had some crazy stats because he ran the ball all over the place, had like 3 touchdowns, whatever it was. And the broadcast made a point to say he's going to be, he would not be a quarterback in the NFL. They were going to have to move him because he's not a good passer. And then the next week, he threw like 5 touchdown passes and like was throwing dimes like dropping them in there. Like he wasn't no dinking and dunking. He was dropping them in the basket. And it was like, okay, this dude is for real. And you know what? He stuck to his guns because it'd have been so easy, for him to take that money. But he said, I'm playing a quarterback. And props to Baltimore for taking a shot on him. So people do like that, stuff like that all the time in the league. The league, they got their own amount of issues right now. They got the officiating crap that's going on again. Because let's be honest. Let's be honest. That Miami game, that was some of the worst officiating I've seen in a while. Now, we did well because we didn't have any penalties. But come on. Come on. So, Miami fans, I was in spaces with Miami fans all week. And you know what? We've been there. And this is why I'm not going to get mad at Miami fans or, you tease them because they're crying and stop crying and keep it moving. But we've been there. Every team gets a turn. Everybody gets a turn. Right? And we've been in that situation where we didn't get none of the calls. And we did the same thing. We bitch, moan, and complain. The refs, the conspiracy, it's a script, it's rigged. I even saw the thing on Pat McAfee was talking about, is the NFL rigged? And it's like, listen, when I played in the 90s, we said the same stuff. Nothing has changed. You always going to have a blip where you have a couple of games where just like the officiating is just like god awful. And it's a lot, it's seen a lot more because of social media. And you can stop a play and clip it and do stuff like that. Can you imagine what was going on back before they had all this technology? Heck, even when I played, they didn't have technology like this. We had instant replay, and that was a big deal. But now they got angles and all that kind of stuff. And I'm surprised, honestly, they don't have like the microchips in the balls and all that kind of stuff. They already got them. They just got to use them. How do you think that next gen stats gets all of that stuff? Man, they got microchips everywhere, in the shoulder pads, in the feet, in the cleats, in the balls, in the helmets. They got meters and they measure everything. How you think they can figure out how fast Tyreek Hill ran or Waddle or whoever? Fastest running backs this week was 21.83 miles an hour, all of that kind of stuff, because they have stuff to measure that. They have all of that kind of stuff. And now, I don't know if you guys saw, if you watched the game, I'm going to turn the game because the Bucks and the Bucks and Buffalo play tonight. But the Amazon telecast, Amazon's got robot language, so it's watching the game and it's starting to predict what the defense is going to run. And I was like, oh, we're there now. So they're using AI based on robot language and stuff like this to where they can look at the players and where they are on the field. And they can, with calculations and analytics, and they can calculate the percentage. There's a 80% chance that this player is going to do this on this play based on the yardage, down and distance, things of that nature. And the system can calculate that information in half a second, and it prints it on screen. It basically telestrates where the computer thinks the player is going to go. And it's right a lot of the time. It's not right all of the time, but it's right a lot of the time, which is scary because you got to think of it like this: with all this stuff with AI and Chat GBT and all this kind of stuff, it's not the best thing right now. It's good, but it still can't beat somebody trying to figure this thing out. But here's the thing that people forget. This is just the beginning. This just Chat GBT is what, a year old, 2 years old, maybe? So we're in the beginning of all of this. And it's that good already. Because you got to remember, it only gets better. It only gets better. It's crazy, man. Analytics. Yeah, kind of, Anthony. But you got to think about it. And let me preface it by saying I'm a nerd. You know, if I had the time, I'd be one of them dudes, you know, playing Dungeons and Dragons and all of that kind of stuff. I just don't have the time. I love it. I love to watch it. I play it Baldur's Gate every time I get a chance, but I don't even have a chance to do that no more. But I've always been a nerd and into stuff like that. So the technology is being used, and it's also being used in ways that you don't even realize. So it's not ruining sports. It's the people. Let me say it like this. It wouldn't ruin sports if it didn't work. If it was no good, very similar to our quarterback sneak. Is it ruining the game because we're so good at it? Now all of a sudden it's because everybody's getting it, it's a dangerous play and players can get hurt. Well, you know, Joey Burrow got hurt rolling out, warming up at practice. Are you going to ban practice? No. Aaron Rodgers got hurt on a regular drop back, on a regular tackle. You going to ban that? Well, they kind of already have. But so, I mean, my point is that it's already here and they're using it. It's not good or bad. It's how people use it. That's it. It's how people use it. Because when you use AI all the time, you become predictable and a pattern will form. And at the end of the day, you still have the option to say, no, I want to do it my way. So, you know, but at the end of the day, if it wasn't working, people wouldn't use it. So there must be something to it. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It is crazy. But so I'm gonna watch this game tonight and see what we can gain, what I can glean from it. We got to take care of Washington this week. I do not want a close game. Washington is notorious for giving us a tough freaking game. I'm looking at that game, the Giants and the Commanders, and I'm like, what the hell were the Commanders doing giving us all of that business when we played them the first time, taking us to overtime? What the heck was that? And then they could barely move the ball against the Giants. The Giants defense isn't that good. And it leads me to the question, why is it that we are always getting everybody's like best effort, like best effort, A1 effort? I don't understand that. That game against the Giants was just important as the game against us. But for some reason, they'll hit us with it and they'll make it a game for us. I don't think that's going to happen this week because I think our defense has hit its stride. That's what I think. So, but Washington's defensive line is pretty damn good. Chase Young is pretty good. They put the pressure on Jalen Hurts last time we played, if I remember correctly. Jalen Hurts was sacked 3-4 times, I believe. You know, and now everybody knows that he can't move as well as he wants to. He had a knee brace on. That cat is out of the bag now. So we'll see how we respond to that. I want to see how he responds to that because after he came up limping, that injury was before he ran around the outside and hit A.J. Brown on that pass that should have been a score. So he still moves around pretty good, but it looks like his explosion when he's climbing a ladder or getting out of the pocket is not what it used to be. So we got to keep an eye on that. I don't know if he's going to still continue to wear the brace or it's going to be one of those situations where if he feels he needs it, maybe he'll put it on. But I'm like, just put the damn thing on. It's not going to be that big of a deal. It's not going to slow you down that much because you're not running as fast as you can anyways. So just go ahead and put it on and just be safe. Anthony asked me, am I in fantasy football? No, sir, I am not. I used to play fantasy years ago, but I found that when I watch the games and I get into football weekend, I tend to forget I got to set my rosters and all of that kind of stuff. And I would always forget. I'm one of those guys that would forget to set the roster, and I would have a starter that had 30 points on the bench I would do stuff like that. So no, I don't play because I would always end up in a league where towards the end of the league, I would stop paying attention. I wouldn't. I don't feel like doing it. And I just want to watch the game. So I do not play fantasy football. I actually thought about looking at this the other day. I actually thought about getting back into Madden. Now, I haven't played Madden. I stopped playing Madden when my grandson started beating me. If he's listening, he's probably laughing right now. But when he was in high school, he started whooping me in Madden, and I stopped playing. And he don't even play Madden that much. He's a basketball kid. So, I couldn't touch him in 2K, but I was like, at least I'm going to get him in Madden. And he started whooping me up in Madden. I was like, yeah, it's time to hang up the sticks. So, but I like the new stuff the way it looks. I was thinking about getting it for the computer and trying it out, or, I don't know. But, my problem is the time. Same reason with fantasy. I just don't have a lot of time to do that, especially with all the stuff on my, my podcast, my YouTube channel, the stuff I'm doing here on A2D Radio. Like, it's a lot of work. So, and I love doing this. So I don't want to sacrifice doing this just so I can play Madden a couple times a week. So I don't know. But I'm having some fun, man. So we're going to get back into this. I'm going to dip up out of here and get back to the game. I'm debating if I want to start Mike Evans or Cooper Kupp. Go Cooper Kupp, dude. To me, that's a no-brainer. Start Cooper Kupp. Puka Nacua ain't taking over the game that much. Unless it's Cooper Kupp hurt or something. I don't know. I will go Cooper Kupp on that one. So, but in any case, I'm going to get out of here. I hope y'all enjoyed the game tonight. If anybody in here has not subscribed to A2D Radio, you need to make that happen. Click that subscribe button. Click on that notification bell. Tell your friends. You can find me here on A2D Radio. I call this the mothership. If you hear me on my personal YouTube channel, which is also called Pro Fan Talk, whenever you hear me mention the mothership, I'm talking about A2D Radio. Because before me, I don't know if you guys paid attention, Irvin Fryer, Hollis Thomas, and then Hall of Famer Brian Dawkins comes on. So they get to lead me in. And then we still got G Cobb, and we got more Eagles on this channel than anybody else. So we getting it done here on the mothership. I'm about to get up out of here. And I want to see you guys next week. Hopefully, we'll be 7-1. Did I say 7-1? Or is it 6-1? 1, 2, 6-1. So yeah, we should win this week. We'll be 7-1. I think I made that mistake earlier. So, but we got to take care of business. We got to take care of business. As the way we are playing right now, right? The road to the playoffs has to come through Philadelphia. The way we're playing right now. Hopefully, we're done with the rash of injuries. Hopefully, we have some help. I think Kevin Byard is going to play this week. Somebody that's a vet like he is, I don't think it'll take him a long time to understand Sean Desai's philosophy and what he wants to do. When you've played for that long in the league, there's not much you haven't seen. So for him particularly, it should be easy for him to pick it up. So that Kevin Byard and Reed Blankenship as our two safeties. I am loving that. And then you got Big Play Slay and Bradbury. Man, that's a secondary right there. And then you got Nakobe Dean, Moreau, and Zach Cunningham. And again, our linebackers are playing off the chains. Somebody said that Nakobe Dean had a good game against Miami. I didn't really pay attention to him, but I got to check him out. So, but I will do that. But I appreciate you guys joining me. We had a fire chat tonight. I appreciate that, man. I gotta figure out a way to get more people in this chat. That's the goal. My goal is to start averaging around 50-ish. every Thursday night. So we're going to start making that happen. But we got to build it up. Bring your friends. Invite somebody so y'all can go to war and start talking about each other and start clowning each other in the chat. That's what we really need. So, but I'm going to get up out of here, man. I appreciate y'all for joining me. Great show tonight. I appreciate Tone DeShields. I'm going to have him on again. I am efforting to get some more guys coming up in the bye week. I've reached out to a couple of people, and I will let you know in the future. All right? Like I said before, hit subscribe, click on that notification bell so you won't miss a thing of what's going on the mothership, A2D Radio, and I will see you guys next week. Peace. I'm out.